Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah, we have almost finished all of the topics. There are about 2 more topics that we're going to cover in the upcoming weeks. So this is one of the topics that we have to finish this semester, which is functions. I have showed you how to create procedure. I have showed you how to work with decision structure. So today we're going to cover on how to create functions. After this, we do have another topics, which is cursors and loop. Okay, so those are basically the remaining topics that we're going to cover this semester. So in this lecture, basically what I want to cover is the process on how to create a functions, how you can actually build a functions and work with functions in PLSQL, and also how to actually use the output which comes from a functions. Okay, so a function is basically similar to a procedure. I have showed you last time on how to create a procedure. Procedure can actually take a lot of values in and then give a lot of values as an output. But different to that, and also procedures allow you to actually execute procedure as a module by itself using an execute command. But different to that, a functions does not have ability to produce a lot of values. It can actually take a lot of values in, but it will only deliver one value out. And a functions is part of an expressions. Okay, so again, this is the difference between functions and procedure. Function is as part of expressions. It is not an entire statement, which is what procedure is. So the ability to place programmer-defined PLSQL is a very powerful enhancement to Oracle development environment, because by having this, you can actually consolidate business rules. Not only you can actually work with the built-in functions that Oracle already has, but you can also make your own functions to fit in with your business rule with the business rules logic. Okay, and it can actually help you to simplify your SQL statement in a way. So let me just show you an example of what function is. So I hope you still remember how we can actually use round, average, count. Okay, so those kind of command is actually considered as functions, in which you can actually take a lot of values in and you will produce one value out as the output of that functions. Okay. The process of creating a functions itself, as I said earlier, is quite similar to a procedure, in which you will have a create or replace functions followed by the function's name, and all parameters is actually listed right after the names. The mode, by default, it will be in. Okay, and you don't need any out parameters or out mode, because by default the values that will be returned by functions will be given here in the return variables. Okay, so you have 2 returns. First one is the data type, the second one is the variable name, the one that you're going to deliver to another block or anonymous block. Okay, so there are 2 return clauses. Let me give you an example. Say I want to create a functions which is called patient discount functions that will return the discount rate for patients regarding if they are actually consulting to Dr. 235 or Dr. 504, whereas for the rest of the patients who consulted to any other doctors, they will only get 5%. Okay, so we do have we have learned how to use decision structure. Okay, you can use if statement, you can use case statement, but this is basically the conditions. Okay, so if the patient is consulted with 235, they will get 10%, 504 25%, the rest of the doctors they get 5%. So say our functions, we're going to determine those discount rate. So here I'm creating a functions. Okay, create or replace functions. This is the name of the functions. Okay, and then I'm taking in doctor ID. So I want to know who is the doctor that this patient is actually assigned to. As you can see here, let me just highlight. Okay, so as you can see here, the return data types is depend on what is the variable data types that you're going to deliver. Okay, so here I'm going to use discount as my output, and my output is number. So that's why you have to declare that the return data types is number. Okay, and followed by is or as discount, which is this is the variable that we're going to work with. And then if Dr. ID is 235, then we're going to assign them with 10%, which is 0.1. Otherwise, 504, they will get 25%, and the default discount is 5%. Okay, so that is the end of the decision structure. The return is discount, which is this variable which we have been processing throughout the decision structure. Okay, and then end of the functions. Once the function is created, means you have no errors, means the functions is already in the system. I can actually call it, once I have the functions created, I can call it from an anonymous block, which as usual in this case I'm taking in the Dr. ID. That's because of this is what I need from the functions. And then I declare a discount variable. This is the values that I'm going to hold the values from the functions. Okay, so here I can actually assign the values of the functions, taking in the values from the parameters, substitution parameters, which is there. Okay, so I'm taking in that values into the functions. Okay, and then at the end we can actually display the functions. I know in some of the students have tried not to assign the values into a variable, which is fine. Okay, so you have an options to actually assign the values from a functions into a variable, or if it's only for display, you can actually work with the functions right away on the DBMS output. Both are correct. Okay. All right. So this is once we have execute, we can actually put into formulas, or you can also do this as a display. So this is I didn't execute the calculations. I just want to show that if you want to give a discount, the discount is that the charge per appointment will have to be multiplied by 0.1, which is the 10% discount, given that the doctor is Dr. 235. Okay. All right. So once you have that, we can also work with, as I said earlier, you can also work with calculations. In this case, if you want to know how much does the person have to pay, here on the second example, on the second anonymous block, what I do was actually creating a select statement. Okay, I'm adding a select statement on the executable statement here. I'm taking in the Dr. ID, and I want to know the charge per appointment. So once I know the charge per appointment, I can calculate how much does the patient has to pay. So here I'm calculating the charge per appointment minus the percentage of the discount, which is depending on who is the doctor this person is assigned to. Okay, so say the Dr. ID is 504. So 504 obviously as what we have created earlier in the functions, 504 will get 25% discount. So this is the 25% discount, the amount that they have to pay after 25% discount. Okay, you can actually try it on SQL to see whether it's actually true that this person is paying 25% discount. So let's just create the functions again. Okay, so as usual, set server output on, set verify off. Okay, then we're going to create the functions first. Here I'm going to call, let me just create a notepad. Okay, so just make sure that everything can be seen on your screen. So create or replace function, I'm going to call it as PT discount. I'm going to take in doctor ID. Okay, so any names basically, number. Okay, and then I'm going to return a number because the discount will be in form of number. So return number is okay. So here we're going to base on whatever we have decided earlier. Sorry. So we're going to follow the decisions as what we have here. Okay, so if 235, 0.1, 504, 0.25, and so on. Okay. So here I'm going to call discount as number. Okay, and then begin. If let's say I'm using case when DID is equal to 235, I'm going to assign the discount with 0.1. Okay, when DID is 504, I'm going to assign the discount with 0.25, which is 25% discount. Else I'm going to give them a 5% discount, which is 0.05. Oops, I missed that. And then okay, so once we have this, as I said earlier, functions has to return. So return. In this case, now the second one, you have to specify which variable that you want to deliver out of the functions, which is in my case it's discount, and n. Okay, so I'm going to save it in my D drive. Okay, once you have saved it, we're going to execute the script. Okay, so the function is created. There's no error, just in case you want to have a look. What did I put there? There it is. Okay, so exactly as what you have on the slide, so no worries about it. Alright, so once the function is created, let's just create an anonymous block to call the functions. Okay, so I'm going to accept the doctor ID. I'm going to prompt enter the doctor ID. Okay, I'm going to declare. Okay, so I'm going to select the charge per appointment. Where doc ID is equal to the doctor ID that we get from the students, from the user. And then we're going to calculate how much this person have to pay. Recharge minus 5. Say we're going to give the discount V charge multiply by patient disk, PT disk, and we're taking in one values, which is DID from the user. Okay, so this is our formula to calculate how much. And then if you want to say we want to display something to the user, so dbms output dot put line display rm. Okay, so how much they have to pay, which is we pay, or v amount. In terms of attributes, I'm not going to be strict. It's just as long as it makes sense. You are more than welcome to name your variable anything. Okay, so in here I'm going to just to show that we do give them discount amount before discount. Okay, sorry if I'm a bit detailed. Okay, so V charge, right? Okay, so now we have to declare two things basically: the V charge, which is number. So I'm going to give 7 with 2 decimals. Same thing with the V pay. Okay, right, so this is our anonymous block. Again, I'm going to save it in my D drive. Okay, so once you saved it, we're going to call that from our D drive. It's up to you where you're going to put the file is. Doesn't really matter, it depends on how you set your computer, but it's just that I put it in my D drive. Okay, so I'm going to put it, I'm going to show 504, which is going to get 25% discount. The amount before discount is 85 ringgit. After the discount, they only need to pay about 63.75 ringgit. So that's how our functions works. Okay, so that is it for my examples. All right, just to close the session. Okay, so if you have any errors, as usual, just make sure you go with you trace the errors with show error, and make sure you don't execute functions as a standalone, because it is actually part of an expression, as I have explained earlier. And if you want to remove a functions, make sure you have function drop functions command, because it is actually an object. Right, I have left you with this question, so please do answer the questions. Say I want to write a stored functions that takes the name of the city where the patients live. If the value returned Carbondale, let's give them 20%. Whereas if they live in any city, let's give them 10%. Whereas there will be no discount given to any patients that live in any other city. Okay, so I want you to work on this. This is the expected output. If the person lives in 331, if the patient ID is 331, he or she is the patients of, so this is the name of the doctors. Okay, and then Dr. Smith is actually charging 25 ringgit. Apparently the patient lives in one of the cities that actually get a discount. Okay, so I bet he or she must live in Anna, so they get 10% discount. So this is the amount that they have to pay. Okay, so look through the videos and work on this example. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to come and see me. Right, good luck, all the best, and take care. Assalamualaikum.